What we do here is go back.
What's up, YouTube? This is Not Your Average Bros, third episode. We are coming from different places around the world. So, Rob, why don't you start us off? Where are you coming from today?
I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
John, where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Lawton, Oklahoma.
What? Where's that at? No, I'm just kidding. Spot, where are you from?
What's everybody? Come from San Antonio, Texas, 210.
210, always represent.
Texas.
Just to give you guys heads up, all of us are from San Antonio. But guys, it is championship football weekend. And before, I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. The chase for the ring. Now it's down to me and the Spot for the championship game. Spot, I'm sorry, but this is going to look really good on me. Today, we wanted to kind of go over some different topics. Rob, I know, I don't know if you wanted to kind of start it off. Last video, we talked about who we thought was going to be MVP. I had Luka. Some of the things that we did leave off, we left off Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. What are your thoughts? Who do you have for these individuals?
Yeah. So my MVP pick coming over from last video was Luka Doncic in Dallas. Again, I think he's going to have I'd say an even more phenomenal year than he did last year. I think he's going to have a real chance to lead the league in scoring and probably be up there in assists. So I'm going to go with him. I think I had Dame coming in a close second for MVP. But the awards that we didn't run through. So my Rookie of the Year, I think right now I'm going to put Obi Toppin in New York. I think a lot of the rookies who are going to have a chance to shine are playing on teams that are probably not playoff bound. But I think Obi is going to get probably the most minutes outside of maybe LaMelo Ball, and I think he's going to have a chance to score and rebound. He reminds me a lot of Amari Stoudemire in the way he plays. So he's got a nice 18-footer. He can really score the ball, super athletic. So I'm excited to see him play. But I think he's gonna do really good, and he's going to benefit from a lot of the minutes he's going to get there. I think as a six-man winner, I think Montrezl Harrell is going to run it back. Really, really solid night. In the opener for the Lakers, I think he's going to play great off the bench for them. The only thing I think pulls him out of that contention is if he just starts to play so well that maybe he takes that starting role from Marc Gasol. I think as the defensive player of the year, I am looking at probably a run back for Rudy Gobert. I think he's got time to shine in that defensive set for Utah. I think he has just signed a big contract extension. I think he's looking to surmount that. He is owed that. And I think he's going to have a really good year on the boards. He's going to do great as defensive linchpin for that, again, that defense and that defensive front court. And then my most improved player, I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. I think he shined in the bubble, did really, really well for Denver. I think he's healthy, and he's going to have a real chance to make a splash for them as a third scorer. I'm unsure if he's going to play a lot off the bench or if he's going to start for them, but I could see him, coming in averaging, 16 to 18 points per game and probably grabbing 6 or 7 rebounds. So really excited to see what he can do for the season.
Absolutely. So I'm glad that you mentioned Michael Porter Jr. And for you guys out there, we're going to come back to Michael Porter Jr. here at the end of our episode. I am surprised you said Obi Toppin. I'm a big Obi Toppin fan. I know that Thibodeau isn't very high on playing a lot of the rookies, but he is the coach of the Knicks. He might be forced into playing Toppin in those top minutes. John, what do you have?
For Rookie of the Year, believe it or not, I actually agree with Rob. I had Obi Toppin as Rookie of the Year. Actually, like before these last, I guess this year, I didn't really know a whole lot about Obi Toppin, but from what I'm seeing, he's really a good scorer, a good rebounder. And I think being in New York, he's actually going to get those minutes. And to be a rookie and win Rookie of the Year, you need minutes, and you got to be able to show what you got. And I think there in New York, he's going to have the opportunity to do that. He's going to have the minutes and be able to grow and really just show out and show what he has. And I know, I think behind him, I had LaMelo in there. I think he might give Obi a run for his money, but I'm going with Obi for Rookie of the Year. For most improved player, I had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as my most improved player. He was actually in the running last year. I think he was like fifth in for most improved player. But this year, with all those other guys that left the Thunder, he's the focus now. Um, he, he's gonna be given the ball. He's gonna be the one that's gonna be able to that has to create. He has to score. He's really the leader of that team. So he's gonna have all that going for him in order for him to get most improved player. So I think this is his year that he'll win that, and I think he's gonna have a real big year. For moving on to sixth man of the year, I don't know if maybe he's a dark horse, but I'm going with Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose for sixth man of the year. He's gonna be coming off the bench in Detroit. Um, I know he's had his ups and downs, but I think he'll be there, ending games for them. He's still very effective. He's still fast. He still can get to the rim. He's still a great scorer. He still has a little bit of explosiveness left. Not like he did in his early 20s, but still very effective. And I think, he'll be able to score and give assists and make a big difference there. So I'm gonna go with Derrick Rose for sixth man. Defensive player of the year. Last time I said that Luka was gonna get MVP. So I think defensive player of the year is gonna go to Giannis. I think this year he's gonna be on a tear as well. But he's not gonna be able to keep up with Luka as far as MVP, and he will win an award, but it'll be defensive player of the year. So we all know that he's a beast on defense, also on offense. He's unstoppable also. But I think he'll get his hardware this year will be for defensive player of the year.
I'm glad you mentioned Derrick Rose, and I'm going to get to Derrick Rose on my spiel here in a little bit. But Spot, what do you got?
All right, man. So rookie of the year, I'm gonna stay on the Warriors bandwagon on this one. I'm gonna go with Wiseman, man. I'm gonna put it out there. He's gonna play, especially not having Clay. Like he's gonna play. He's a big man. He's gonna get his minutes. He's gonna get his time. Everybody's looking at Golden State right now because they're supposed to be. I don't know. Some guy picked him to be number 3 in the West. I don't know. I don't know who that was. But it sounds like a smart guy to me. So he's gonna play. So I'm gonna go with him. For defensive player of the year, I'm gonna go Gobert. They gave him all that money, so he better be defensive player of the year. He don't really got a choice. It's gonna be between him and Giannis, I think. But they'll be the 2 highest paid players right now. Like it's gonna be between them 2, but he needs to win it because there's nothing else he can't do right now. For sixth man of the year, I'm gonna go with Rob on this one. I think Montrezl, that's a good pick. Like he shows he can play in and play out. There's not too many guys out there coming off the bench that really provide that much of a spark the way he does for their team. Basically, you got some second teamers that come out pretty good, but nobody really creates that. Anywhere he goes, he could be a starter if he went somewhere else. For most improved, I don't know if you really want to call him most improved. I'm gonna go with DeMarcus Cousins because he didn't play last year. So I'm gonna say maybe he shows out this year and hopefully he stays healthy. I don't know. I don't know if there's a comeback player of the year award. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put in the comments if there is or there's not. Well, whatever. Maybe they should make one. But most improved, I'm gonna go with DeMarcus Cousins on that. And those are my picks.
All right, and I'm gonna round it out here. So for rookie of the year, I have Ben Simmons. No, I'm just kidding. You can't win it again. It was hard. I'm gonna narrow it down to 2. I have it down to Killian Hayes because he is a starter. I also like the way Anthony Edwards just kind of started the season, preseason into the first game today, which the first game just happened today. He did produce. Defensive player of the year, because of where he's at now, I'm going to go with somebody different just because I think they're going to make a strong push in the playoffs, and that's going to be Robert Covington. I think Robert Covington is going to get those hard assignments. I think he's going to have a very strong year, and he's going to come out as a defensive player of the year. Most improved, and I'm glad he played today. I had to make sure I had to ask Rob before we started this. Most improved, I'm going to put Keldon Johnson. I hope that he gets a lot of minutes with the Spurs. And to be honest with everyone out there, I haven't always been the biggest Spurs fan. amongst these other three. When I was in high school, I was a big Sacramento Kings fan. I loved Jay Will. I loved Mike Bibby. I love Chris Webber. I love that whole Kings vibe, that whole Kings team. And it took me a little bit to kind of jump on that. Now, I'm going to not say the Spurs bandwagon, but to appreciate what the Spurs have accomplished through their system. And in my opinion, one of the best teams of all time in that 2014 team. And then for my sixth man, I'm going to agree with John. I'm going to say Derrick Rose. But here's the thing with Derrick Rose. I don't believe that he is going to stay on the Pistons. He is going to be the sixth man for another team. But that's my list. Killian Hayes, Robert Covington, Keldon Johnson, and Derrick Rose. Kind of switching subjects. Rob, we had a couple games with the start of the NBA season yesterday. Do you want to start us off with the Lakers and Clippers?
Yep. So the Clippers ran it up on the Lakers yesterday. I think the big takeaway was the flow, I think, of the Clippers offense. So Paul George had some choice words on the way Doc Rivers kind of ran him for last season. And I think, a lot to what Paul George talked about was he felt more of a spot up shooter, and he was being asked to kind of sit on the 3-point line while they operated kind of a normal flow and set offense. And I think what Tyronn Lue said when he came into the role and how they played in preseason, he was going to let a lot of the offense flow through PG. And I think that's exactly what he did. Paul George looked really comfortable out there last night. He was getting to the rim at will. He looked good on the outside, shooting it. And then I think Kawhi kind of pick and chose his spots, and they ran more of some motion sets for Kawhi to get the ball. And then we're more free flowing. I was interested to see what it looked like for them without someone like Montrezl Harrell playing. I know, Morris was out for the Clippers as well, but they didn't look to have a lot of trouble with the Lakers. I think the game really never looked like it was gonna be tight. From the Lakers side, I think their new pieces looked really, really good. Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell played really, really well in the half-court offense together. The pick and roll multiple times for them was really easy. I think LeBron looked athletic. He looked in shape. Kentavious Caldwell played pretty well, but I think altogether, the Lakers overall just didn't look like they came with the same intensity that the Clippers did. And it was interesting to see, being it was, obviously first game of the season. There was the ring ceremony prior. You would have thought they would have come out a little more focused on it. But I think really like the star of the night was Paul George. I think he obviously had a lot of doubters after the way he played in the postseason last year. And then, going into the contract signing, I think people were looking to see what he could do. It's obviously game one of a 72-game season. Can he keep it up for the amount of time? But I think the Clippers offense looked really scary if they're going to let him kind of run that point guard position. And I'd say he's just, getting people active. I think, even Patrick Beverley from a role of distributing and getting in the corner for threes, he had a few plays called for him where he took it at some of the larger players. And then a couple of the guys for, again, the Clippers that they were newly signed, Nicholas Batum and Serge Ibaka looked pretty good on the interior for them. So I think there's going to be some great battles there in the Staples Center between the two teams. I'm sure the Lakers are going to bounce back. But a good opening night win for the Clippers. I think there was a lot of question marks around how they were going to look after blowing a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, great pickups with Ibaka. Batum actually impressed me. I didn't think he was going to play as many minutes and have a big role as he did. Paul George played an outstanding game rather than that one pass that he had to the referee to the side. But it was expected. But here's the thing with the Clippers, how I feel. I think that there's still some trouble within that system. And I know that it's early in the season. It is game one. But I think that those problems are going to catch up. And then the record's going to reflect that. When it comes to the Lakers, they came in very lackadaisical. I want to point out Horton Tucker. I love that guy. I mean, he's a bunch of heart right there. Horton Tucker played very well. Montrezl Harrell played well. Even Kuzma played exceptional, and a lot of people have him for maybe that sixth man of the year too. Overall, with Schroeder impressed me, cutting to the hole, his pick and rolls. The Lakers are obviously going to get better at it. I know that it is game one. Moving on to game two, John, Brooklyn, Golden State. I know that Spot had Golden State as, what was it, the 1 seed, maybe the 3 seed right there. 3 seed. What you got, John?
Yeah, he had Spot had him at a 3 seed. Well, Rob mentioned running it up, the Clippers down the Lakers, but you want to talk about running it up? That's what Brooklyn did to Golden State yesterday with a final score of 125-99. They ran it up. And also, actually going back to that Laker game you're talking about, the Clippers did win the first game against the Lakers last year also, and look what happened. So, but going back to Golden State and Brooklyn, man, it was a pretty fun. It was actually really nice to see KD back. It was nice to see Kyrie back. There was a lot of things going right for Brooklyn, and then for Golden State, you could tell they still need time together. They're Wiggins, Oubre. There were times things didn't look too smooth. But one of the good things actually for Golden State that I did notice was that Wiseman looked really well. Wiseman played really, really good for his first game in the NBA, especially with all the star power in that first national televised game that he had to play in. He played very solid. He looked good. He worked well with Curry in a lot of plays. And, I think he's going to build off that. Brooklyn, man, it seemed like everybody on that team was hitting and looking great. LeVert was playing out of his mind. Dinwiddie looked good. Jared Allen looked good. Joe Harris looked good. KD and Kyrie looked back to form the way they did, when they were top players in the NBA before. And it looks like they're back to the way they are. I mean, the way they are now is back to the way they used to play. Curry looked good also, but you can tell that there's a lot missing there in Golden State. And, Draymond didn't play, which probably would have helped. Klay Thompson, he got re-injured and is out. So I'm sorry, Spot. They're not going to be number 3 seed.
Oh,
It's not going to happen.
If there's silver lining, I think John called it out right. Wiseman 7-13, 19 points, 6 boards, played really well. And I think what's so different about the Warriors this year is obviously there's no Klay Thompson. What we're used to from the Warriors is a ton of shooting depth. It's not Curry, but it's in waves, right? Klay is going to knock down threes. KD was hitting threes. Their bench units would come in and hit threes, and you just couldn't stand the barrage. They don't have that type of outside shooting that they do, right? Like they've got Curry, Wiseman inside playing. You've got Oubre and Wiggins who are more cutters. They're slashers trying to get to the basket. So I'm anxious to see how that fits. But the big men that have performed for them before, JaVale McGee, Maurice Spates, a lot of these guys who've had great careers with the Warriors, none of them have been as talented as James Wiseman is. And I think he's 7'1", he's mobile. He hit a couple threes yesterday, I believe, and he's got a nice shooting touch. They can get him rallied around with some other guys. That's a different type of Warriors team. So I do think they'll play a lot better than they showed yesterday.
Let me ask you all this question. If Klay Thompson was still in the roster, did not get injured, where would they fall in the standings? And I'll start with Rob before we move on a Spot for his thoughts. But Rob, what do you think if they did have Klay Thompson and he was healthy and he was 100%, where do you think that they would fall in the standing?
The thing with that is I think if they had Klay Thompson, they wouldn't have made the trade for Kelly Oubre. And I think that's the play they made to replace him. If he's there instead of Oubre, I think they are still at the bottom. I think they've got a chance to get into a play-in. They're just not as deep. When you look on their bench before and you had Sean Livingston, Iguodala, or different guys, now you've got Brad Wanamaker, Marquise Chris. These are the guys that are coming off the bench. They're NBA players, but they're not the caliber of role player that the Warriors are accustomed to having. And they don't bring a specific – they don't bring a specific skill set, right? You had Bazemore who played yesterday, 12 minutes. Wanamaker was 0 for 2, 3 points. Juan Toscano, 4 points. Marquise Chris finished with 9. They just don't have the people coming off the bench that you're used to for it. So that puts a lot more on Curry. I think he's a great player. Best shooter ever in the NBA, probably. He's not built to have to run 72 games and average 30 points. And I think the big thing that's taken away, right, is he had a lot of people send some great screens for him out there. and now you've got Wiggins and Oubre who are screening for you. Nobody's scared of doubling off of a screen now with Curry. So I think, could they get to the 7th seed with Klay Thompson, a healthy Klay Thompson and a healthy Curry? With Wiseman playing well, with Draymond playing throughout the season, I think they have a chance. I think they're more established than a Grizz team or a Suns team that are going to be trying to get into the playoffs. I think they're better than the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that really stood out was yesterday was Brooklyn's depth, and then Golden State doesn't have any. Brooklyn, no matter who came in the game, they were just lighting it up like left and right. All these guys were contributing, and they all look comfortable doing it. And you could tell this is gonna be a really scary team for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Brooklyn's built like the Warriors were built 3-4 years ago, right? You've got Durant and Curry who can light it up. Joe Harris, who got a huge contract, he was 2 for 5 for 3 yesterday. He can shoot it. And then you've got Dinwiddie and LeVert who can get shots whenever they need to. And then again, you got Jared Allen, who's probably more talented at this point in DeAndre Jordan's career than he is. They both can rebound. They both can move off of the pick and roll. Like, they are extremely deep. And then you've got other guys who probably aren't playing a ton of minutes, Taurean Prince, Jeff Green, that again on championship teams can be contenders. Like, they're, again, like the Warriors aren't in their class. I'm not surprised they got blown out by 30. The Nets are, top 2, top 3 team in the NBA. Like, they're going to blow a lot of people out by 30 this year.
Gotcha. Spot, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Draymond Green being out was one of the factors of why the score was so one-sided?
So I'm gonna just say this first, because this is game 1. All the guys they want to crown Brooklyn already. Say Brooklyn's the best team in the world. Brooklyn's the '92 Olympic Dream Team. Calm down, guys. Calm down. It's game 1. Game 1. Yes, Golden State didn't have the best outing. They didn't. But like Josh said, everybody on Brooklyn, everybody hits shots. That's not gonna happen every game. So I'll give them that. But Draymond Green, did it make it that much of a difference? I feel like it made a difference. But like these guys said, when y'all are popping, it don't matter who's in front of you. Great offense always beats great defense. No matter if Giannis is in front of you, Gobert's in front of you, it doesn't matter. And the Warriors, like they said, the Warriors weren't hitting, weren't lighting it up. Not having Draymond Green, maybe they were risking some of that intensity that was with them. Again, game 1. Still gonna finish the 3 seed. I'm still going with it. It's okay, guys. I know y'all can laugh y'all there. Y'all want to laugh over there. It's fine. I just don't think that I feel like everybody's writing off Golden State already just because of that one game. But we've seen championship teams get blown off or blown away in game 1. We've seen it. It just is the way it is, For that Lakers Clippers game, it didn't impress me. The Clippers didn't impress me. I guess it still showed how they choke, because literally they had a 22-point lead and still lost it, and had to fight back to gain it again. And the Lakers, from what I saw at least, shot horribly. If the Lakers have a better shooting game, LeBron has a better shooting game. LeBron, I think, had he was single digits in the first quarter, in the second quarter, the first half. Sorry, the first half. He didn't go off like he normally does. AD had a pretty good game, but this Clippers still did it. Just don't impress me. They just don't. After last year, I'm hard pressed. So no matter who they've gotten or what they've done, or how much money they've thrown at everybody to really get behind them. But again, kudos to Brooklyn. Good for Brooklyn. I'm not a Warriors fan, by the way, Internet America. I'm not a Warriors fan. I just don't see them falling as far as people think they are.
I'll throw the last thing in there. Golden State, 30% from 3. The Nets, 43% from 3. And really, everything else is pretty even. The Warriors had more assists, steals, even on blocks, and they had less turnovers than the Nets. I think that's exactly where it was. They just shot the ball really, really well, which I think they're going to do consistently with the team that they have. And the Warriors just didn't. So.
Let's stick on Golden State for a second. If y'all had the opportunity to pick up one player in order to make Golden State better, that is in the trade rumors, who do you think that would be? And I'll start with you, Rob.
James Harden. I think, you want to take pressure off of Curry. you want someone right now until Klay Thompson's back next year that's going to allow teams to, or make teams have to focus. I think you go after James Harden. I'm not tied in with having Andrew Wiggins, with Kelly Oubre. I think you're going to probably have to drop James Wiseman because I don't think Draymond Green is gonna make it excitable for Houston. But I think you get James Harden in there. Curry can play off the ball. Harden can, and again, you might have to see, does Harden want to play that same way that he's been playing for a few years? But I think James Harden would be able to take the ball out of Curry's hand and allow Curry to run off screens, get more open looks. It's going to save some of his body from the rigors of the 72-game season coming back from injuries last year. I think that's probably the only person that makes you better. I've seen Ben Simmons to Golden State rumors. I don't think he makes you better. I think he, again, brings a skill set that doesn't lend itself well to how they want to play. I think James Harden's the play there. I don't know if Houston gets to a point where they say, hey, we'll accept Wiggins, Oubre, Wiseman, and a pick, from you, or if you can get away with sending Oubre and somebody else. I think it's going to be a tall ask from Houston for whoever wants him, but I think James Harden makes you better in the immediate future for Golden State. And then when Klay Thompson comes back, you again have a three-headed dragon there of a bunch of guys who can shoot and move the ball.
So you are Houston right now, Rob, and you're saying, hey, I will trade you James Harden for, finish that sentence.
I'd have to look at salary, but I think it's going to consist of some type of future first. I'm not sure exactly if the Warriors have that, but I would say you're probably looking at Wiggins. If I'm Golden State, I'm looking at, I'll give you Wiggins, Oubre, Wiseman, and a future first for Harden. And there's probably some other salary pieces that would need to be in there to make it complete. I'm hesitant on moving Wiseman. I think he is going to be a star, and I think he's so mobile for a big man. But again, if you want to win now, I think you move those pieces to get them out. I don't think Wiggins and Oubre are long-term Warriors players anyways. I think Andrew Wiggins, the moment they can move him for somebody else, they're going to move him. He's not somebody that's going to fit there.
Russell.
Yep, exactly.
All right, John, let's stay on the James Harden subject. We talked about the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think that they would do? What do you think is going to be their new offer, showing that what you see now in game one and how they put up a lot of points? Do you think that they're going to let those key players go? And now, again, finish this sentence. I am the GM from the Rockets. I will trade you James Harden for. Go ahead.
I mean, really just looking at that game yesterday, you want talent. There's a ton of talent over there in Brooklyn. And some of the guys that I think they could probably get are LeVert, Chris LeVert, who, I mean, he's almost a star. This guy is getting there. He's getting ridiculous the way he's starting to play. Dinwiddie, real confident. That dude could ball. Jared Allen. I would try to get those three guys. I mean, if they can get something else also, that'd be great. Maybe a couple picks with it also. But, I mean, those three guys also with the team that Houston has already, we got Boogie and John Wall. It's not like they'd fit a lot better with some of the other pieces that you hear that are trying to get tossed around, like trying to get, who was it? Like with 76ers, Ben Simmons going to Houston. I mean, I don't feel like that's a good fit. These guys, LeVert, Dinwiddie, Allen, you could tell they know how to play. They've been both. They've had to been secondary scorers, and they've also had to be the primary scorers like last year. And they can fit in. They don't really have. They're not ego guys. They just want to come in and ball, and they could. I mean, they're just all about their business, and they play hard all the time. So if I was Houston, I'd try to get those guys.
All right, now, Spot, I'm going to go to you. You are now Brooklyn, and you just saw the way that your team just played with LeVert, Allen, and Dinwiddie. And the Rockets, they're saying, hey, we'll trade you Harden, but we need these players. What do you do as the GM of the Nets?
If I'm being honest and I'm being smart, I'm saying no, thank you, to be honest. You got Kyrie, you got KD, What more do you need right now? Like these other guys already said, man, they got depth. They got players. Why do I want to bring Harden, who clearly doesn't want to play with anybody, who clearly has the ego factor. You've already got these two guys. I can't even say Jordan and Pippen egos. These guys, Kyrie's ego, we all know Kyrie's ego. We know what he is. KD, man, KD's one of the top 5 players in the world right now. Probably top 3 players in the world, to be honest. When he's healthy, nobody's stopping him. Why bring Harden to ruin that? Because if you bring Harden over here, you're gonna have to get some players away, and that's gonna hurt you. Like Rob said earlier, they all have their role. They all know their role. So why ruin that? So if you're smart, which I'm assuming the GM over there is smart, I'm passing on that. I'm saying no, thank you. I'll keep him. Why am I going to add another $200 million to my payroll just to pay this guy when he may want out in the year? Or Kyrie's going to be like, you know what, I'm tired of him. KD's going to be like, I'm tired of him, and they're going to want out. They're fine with where they're fine this year. If you're looking long term, don't take them. Pass.
Gotcha. Now, I'm going to stay on the role of young players. Let's go to Michael Porter Jr. and Rob had mentioned him earlier. Now you're the Rockets, and now you're contacting the Nuggets, and you want Michael Porter Jr. Rob, I'm going to start with you. What do you think the Nuggets should do if you were contacted to get James Harden, but you had to give up a Michael Porter Jr.?
As great as I think Michael Porter Jr. is, I think James Harden, if you're trying to win now, you swing for the fence. I think if the question right now, right, Harden's got 2 years left on his contract, I believe. So teams are worried. Is he going to re-sign with us? Right. If you make a trade for James Harden, you're not worried about winning in 3 years. You're worried about winning now. So for a team like the Nuggets, who obviously come back from a 3-1 deficit against the Clippers, they get to the conference finals. And I think, it would have been crazy for a lot of people to think that they were going to knock off the Lakers and get there, right? It just seemed predestined for LeBron in the bubble. I think you swing for it. Michael Porter Jr. is a great player, and I think he has a chance to be a star or a superstar. You have the chance to get a superstar player in James Harden. I think it changes how they play. Obviously, Jamal Murray handles the ball a lot. Jokic also keeps the ball in his hands a lot, but they've got a lot of the other pieces like Houston had. A lot of guys who play on the wing, have learned to spot up and shoot threes, who know their role and play their role well, and that's why the Nuggets work. I think if you can pair up a budding star, I'd say, in Jamal Murray with a superstar talent in Jokic with another superstar in Harden, I think it's pretty hard to think that with everything else around them, they can't make a play at the Lakers. I think they beat the Clippers last year. They're going to feel confident going into a series with them again this year. I think you make the play. As long as you don't have to give up Jokic or Jamal Murray. And I think that's what I'm reading, what I'm seeing is Houston's asking for a star. If they want to go to Philly, they want Embiid or Simmons, which I think a lot of these teams are wanting to pair Harden with 2 superstars that they have. So I think if you can make a play for him where you're losing Michael Porter Jr., Gary Harris, maybe Bol, and a couple picks, I think you make the play and you swing big. A lot of these GMs and these coaches, you've got a short window to show that you can win a title. So if you can get in here 2 seasons, get Harden accustomed to your system, he's going to have 2 stars now that can take the load off of him. Maybe he starts to play a different brand of basketball, something similar to what he was doing in Oklahoma City or when he first got to Houston. I think, he sticks around if you guys are competitive. You got to remember, he made it to one conference final with the Rockets. And, if he doesn't, if Chris Paul doesn't go down with that injury, I think most of the world thought they were knocking off the Warriors and going to the finals. So I think if he has a chance to get to the Nuggets, it's not a foregone conclusion he's not going to re-sign. So I think, you have to go for it. I think any team that has the chance to get Harden and it's a reasonable package, I think you have to go for it.
Gotcha. So before we end this segment, this video, I'm going to call this redemption time. John, I'm going to start with you, followed by Rob, followed by Spot. You have 10 seconds to make a change, if any, to your Western Conference or Eastern Conference standings. Start thinking about it. Ready? On you, John. Let's go. What you got? John, you got to unmute yourself, buddy.
I'm actually sticking with my standings. I didn't pick Golden State as a 3 seed in the West, so I don't feel too horrible. I got Lakers, Clippers, Utah, Denver at the top still. I'm sticking with it.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
In the West, I think I'm sticking with the top dogs, Lakers, Denver, and the Clips. I think I'll stay there. I feel good. The Spurs played well tonight. I'm anxious to see Phoenix play. I think Golden State does not look like they're in line for a play-in game. And, it's game 1, but I thought Memphis looked suspect without Jaren Jackson in there for them. So, I know he was out. I'm anxious to see how they played there. Minnesota, I think maybe can get into a play-in scenario as well. In the East, though, I think the Nets are gonna have the best record in basketball. I thought they looked great. The Bucks lost a nail biter to the Celtics, who are very, very good. So I think it's gonna be tough to grab them. I thought the Heat, they lost to the Magic tonight, and then Toronto took a tough loss to New Orleans. So I think if anything there, I'd roll Toronto down to a play-in scenario, and then they're going to be right neck and neck with Atlanta for the last spot in the East.
Gotcha. Spot, what you got? You got to change that Golden State, or you're going to stay true?
No, man, I'm gonna put him at number 1. How about that? Just kidding. I'm not doing that. Nah, I'm gonna stick with what I got, man. I've always stuck to what I got. I'm gonna stick to it. Golden State number 3. Everything else falls in place. That's how I'm leaving it. End of the year, that's how it'll be.
All right, man. Sticking true. Well, that's it for our episode today. Please follow us on Instagram. This video should be posted soon. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. This is Not Your Average Bro signing off.